I love moto camping, and I love my garage. One thing I have never considered is combining the two. But hey, Elvis combined peanut butter, bacon, and bananas, and we all call him the king. This tent is aptly named the Moto Tent, and comes from a UK-based company called Lone Rider. They are responsible for some of the most wild tent specs for moto camping that I have ever heard, such as 6'7" ceilings, separate living quarters, awnings, and the longest tent poles I have ever seen in my life. This thing is big, like really big. You're probably wondering what it's like to set up this monster. Let's take a look, shall we? Assembly is simple and straightforward, but more involved than your average backpacking tent. The main tent only has 3 poles which are color coordinated on the tent so you can't screw it up. The 2 comically long red poles go in the red slots, and the black poles go in the black slot. Easy easy. This tent is big, in all ways. Interior space is incredible, you have room to stand, room for cooking and eating, and even a separate sleeping quarters. This tent is big enough that you could leave your bike outside and Airbnb the garage out. All this luxury does come with a sacrifice in footprint size. The tent itself measures almost 14 feet long and 7 feet wide. So if you do a lot of camping outside of official campsites, you'll have to make sure you can find a big flat area to set it up. The first time you set it up, you'll have to clip the inner bedroom section to the outer section. But once this is done, you can leave it all combined. This separation creates a nice big air gap and helps to ensure no moisture buildup in the tent. I'm a pretty tall person and I've never been able to stand up in a tent before, so this tent feels quite luxurious to have space where I can stand. The first time I set it up, it took me around 15 minutes, the second time was around 10, and talking to people who have owned it for a while, it seems like a 5-minute setup is pretty normal. Because of the sheer size of the tent, it does catch a lot of wind, so setting it up in the wind can be a little challenging. Looking back on the video, I feel like there's probably a better way to do this. If you have experience with this tent, let me know in the comments. Taking down the tent is very easy, and the supplied dry bag is bigger than it needs to be, so packing it in there is a breeze. In fact, I have a friend who puts his sleeping bag and sleeping accessories inside the dry bag, so that it's all in one place. That probably has you wondering just how big this tent bag actually is. This should answer your question. It is in fact very unsmall. I would even venture as saying it's large. It weighs over 14 pounds and is 2 feet long by 8 inches high. Mind you, I don't think a dork on a 50-year-old XL175 was their target demo when they designed this tent. The people I know who ride with this tent generally run racks and panniers, and when those are installed, this fits nicely on top. And because it comes in its own dry bag with easy tie-down loops, it can be attached to your bike as is. My current tent packs up much smaller, but once set up resembles more of a discount MDF coffin in contrast to this spacious King Tut sized tomb. This past year I have been doing a lot of riding on mostly old vintage small bikes, which generally require me to truck them into the mountains. This tent gives me a mobile sort of headquarters where I can charge my equipment out of the rain, where I can do my cooking, work on a bike if I need to, or just relax with the awning up and drink a coffee. And because I was trucking the bike, I have no limits on what I wanted to bring to make this tent as comfortable as possible. I brought my queen-size double-high air mattress, 4 blankets, a sheepskin, and a real pillow. This ended up being more comfortable in my bed at home, and the view was way better. If you saw the video I made while we were riding here, you will know how much I was looking forward to this luxurious tent resort I made for myself.
That is so steep. What the heck? I can't make it up there. Ah, let's go! Woo!
The fact that I can barely even walk down it.
I came off the bike and went over, flipped onto my back in there.
And all I see is legs and sploosh. Let's show your back. You are, yeah, you're soaked. Completely soaked.
Needless to say, I was sore, tired, and looking forward to relaxing in my tent, which is a luxury I don't usually have with my teeny tiny tent. One of the very first things I noticed with the tent was the quality of materials used. Everything feels well made, from the dry bag it comes in down to the tent itself. The materials used are thicker than any of the tents I have ever used before, and helps explain the 14-pound packed weight. Lone Rider does make a smaller tent as well, called the ADV tent. As the sky turned from mediocre to terrible, I pulled my motorcycle outside, because motorcycles are waterproof, and I am not. Lone Rider makes an optional awning kit that allows the doors to be propped up, adding additional covered square footage, which is very cool. That leads us to the tent itself, which is $600 US, putting it in the upper category of tent pricing, but I have seen a lot more expensive tents that offer a lot less in the realm of creature comforts. I will say, if you buy this tent, I don't think you will be disappointed in the build quality or materials used. It is a very premium feeling piece of equipment. I really enjoyed the several hooks in the tent where you can hang your clothes dry, which ended up being something I found quite useful on this rainy day. The garage is so nice to have when you're done riding and the weather is less than perfect. It's tall enough that you can get changed out of the rain comfortably. There are also loads of pockets and storage areas inside the sleeping area and inside the garage, which are really handy for keeping things off the ground and in plain sight. As the weather went from terrible to why am I still here, I decided to take the awning down and go inside. The tension required on the guidelines will need to be adjusted when the garage doors are open versus when they're closed. As I crawled into my palace of fur, basking in the red glow of my polyester 210T, I was glad I had this house away from home. The tent feels very well isolated from the outside weather, and in this near freezing rain, I was glad for that. But it did make me wonder what a hot summer day might feel like, as there is no roof ventilation. Overall, I do like this tent, but my idea of an adventure bike is a little bit odd, and doesn't leave a lot of room for something like this. I don't currently ride the types of bikes that this is designed for, but I will definitely be bringing it with me on many more drive-to expeditions and car camping with the family. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out the tent. They did give me an affiliate code that you can use as well that gets me a little kickback. And if you enjoyed the video, tell me your thoughts and consider subscribing. Okay, see you later.